Uriah is a licensed therapist and a group practice owner. He's also the author of the Productive Practice book, which you've maybe read, and the head nerd at Productive Therapist, which is a virtual assistant company that serves therapists in private practice. He's a technology nerd and maybe an AI nerd as well. We'd add on there for him. A minimalist travel packer and a rock drummer. So those are some hobbies right there. That's pretty intriguing. All right, Uriah. Well, I'll shift it over to you. We're excited to have you, and yeah, go
Thanks
for
so
it.
much, Brent and Nate. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good to
Yeah,
see
it's
you.
great to be here. My official title here at Productive Therapist is head nerd, so I'm basically over all of the nerdy stuff that includes technology and AI. But if you want to ask me questions about playing the drums or minimalist travel packing, I'm down for that too. Rocket ships from Brent. Thank you. This is great. I'm super excited, and it's nice to see some familiar names and faces. Hi, Donna, Susan, Catherine. I know several of you. Ratul, good to see you here. So I'm excited to talk to you about using AI for your practice for not the clinical stuff, but more sort of leadership, operations, and business development. And specifically, I'm going to show you how to build your AI advisory team. And everything that I talk about and share today are things that you can actually implement. Literally, if you have time on your schedule today, you can go and do these things. And I'm going to give you absolutely everything that you need. All right, so I'm going to share my screen so we can get into it. Actually, you know what? Let me ask you a question first. I'm curious for the folks who are here, I want to know how you really feel about AI. And we're going to go scale of 1 to 10. So 1 is going to be like existential dread, and then 10 is going to be like unfettered enthusiasm. Drop a number in the chat. Existential dread, unfettered enthusiasm, somewhere in between. We've got eights, 7. Okay, 7, 8. Nice. You all are some forward-thinking therapists. I like this. 8. Okay, good, good. So that hopefully means that you'll be open to these ideas. That's excellent. All right, let me share my screen here. And or actually, you know what? Sorry. I'm just excited. I'm just like, this is great. I want to ask you one more question, and that is, I want to talk about briefly the problems that we have with AI, right? We're all therapists, we're all mental health professionals. Um, and we're not business people by nature, and we're not technology people by nature. And so I think there are a couple problems that we encounter when it comes to learning how to use AI, because it is so new, right? It's overwhelming and it's confusing. And for a lot of us, it seems amazing, but it's not quite as helpful as we would like it to be. And then maybe, we're thinking about, is this ethical? Should I use this? Can I trust it? So those are kind of 3 things that I think we have some challenges around. And feel free to put a comment in the chat if you've got other sort of problems or concerns. I would like to try to address some of those, even if they're not in my notes or in my presentation today. We can't get to everything, but let me know what you're struggling with and what is a challenge. The tools and the tips that I'm going to give you today are going to help you overcome some of those things in a significant way. So that's exciting. All right, let me go and share with you my screen. All right, I'm trying something different here today. My presentation notes are all in Google Docs, and I've actually shared a link in the chat with this document that has everything that you're going to need, including prompts, project instructions, and more, and my funny little AI-generated graphics. Okay, so building your AI advisory team. Here are a couple of the benefits of personalizing your AI. Because if you just sign up for ChatGPT or Claude or any of these other tools and you just start using it, and you've probably already done this, you're going to get some pretty good results. The tools are amazing. Like they can do so much, genuinely. But a lot of us are using it as kind of a glorified Google search, or maybe like a slightly useful writing tool for email newsletters or blog posts or marketing content or different things. But when you personalize your AI, you're going to get, honestly, it's going to blow your mind. You're going to get such better results, and you're going to make better decisions for your practice. And then you're also going to save loads of time. And I think we would all say that those are awesome things. Brent and Nate, I can't see the chat when I'm sharing my screen. So if any questions come in, feel free to share them with me. I would love to actually
Will
get
do.
questions.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. I would love to get questions as I'm talking through things. It might work better that way. I can certainly present and monologue, but I love to have a conversation and a dialogue. And some of this stuff is a little bit technical, so you might have some questions. Okay, so we're talking about personalizing your AI. Some of the things we're going to cover here is how prompting works in 2025. You're probably aware of this, but all of these companies that are making AI tools, there's a gazillion of them, and they are changing all the time. They're adding features. Honestly, as the head nerd at Productive Therapist, I love to keep up with this stuff, and that's what I do for my therapist colleagues and friends. But it's overwhelming for even for me. I have to like turn it off and go like, okay, well, I can't test all those things or use all those things or do all those things. So we're going to talk about how prompting works and how to get the most out of it. And we're going to talk about, this is key. This is something you probably haven't heard of and you probably haven't done. We're going to create the perfect master prompt, which is going to give your AI basically superpowers. And then based on those two things, and on top of those two things, we're going to build your AI advisory team. Okay. I'm excited. And next up, we're going to talk about prompting. Okay, so how prompting works in 2025. And I'm not going to go too deep on this, but if you have questions, let me know. Basically, the secret sauce is in the context. So I was trying to think of the perfect analogy for this, but it's kind of like we're all therapists here, and we've all been in therapy and we've gone to see a therapist. And some of us probably are overdue to go back and have a revisit. But you remember that time when you sat down with a brand new therapist and you started telling them your story and about your life, your backstory, and all those things. They didn't know anything about you except for what you put on the paperwork. And then you work with them for 6 months, a year, 2 years, maybe 5 years, or whatever that time frame is. And by that time, they have so much context about you. They know about your family, they know about your history, how you handle things emotionally, they know all this stuff. And so that gives them so much more information so they can help you more. And so that's what we're going to do with our AI tools. We're going to give them a ton of context about us and about our practices, and that's going to level up what we get out. I don't know if anybody remembers, like a year or two ago, like there was so much talk about prompt engineering. I don't know if anybody pays attention to this stuff like I do, but like the thing was, well, the ChatGPT, you have to give it all this information. You have to write this lengthy prompt, right? And give it all this information about its role and its job and all these kinds of things. And it just kind of felt overwhelming to figure out how to become like an expert in prompting. The good thing is that now that you don't have to do that, it's all about the context. Okay. But first, a few words on ChatGPT versus Claude. There's a million tools out there, but I think most of us are probably using one of these two or both of them. And this question always comes up just because I talk a lot about Claude and I use it for my businesses, both my businesses extensively. And just for the context there, I'm a therapist by training, like Brent said, or like Nate said, and I also have a group practice. So I'm using this in my group practice as well as Productive Therapist. And I actually pay for both of these tools on the paid version. It's like $20 a month, but it's the best $40 that I spend every single month. And each one of them genuinely is better at certain things. So it is kind of personal preference. And if you've only used ChatGPT and you've never tried Claude, I would recommend that you sign up and give it a try. A lot of the things I'm going to show you today are inside of Claude because I think it does a few things much, much better and it's more useful for me. I think it writes better, at least for me as well. So your mileage may vary, but I think a lot of people who are really learning how to use AI and really leveraging it use both. So I'm actually going back and forth between the two every single day. Okay. I'm gonna try not to get too nerdy into this because I want the things that I share with you to be applicable. I was telling my wife I was flashing back to my first like public speaking as a therapist. I went to an event in 2011 for the California Association of Marriage and Family Therapists. Brent, you'll probably get a kick out of this. And I was talking, my topic was internet marketing for therapists, because this was like a new thing, right? And I talked to them all about SEO and meta tags. And like, everything that I said just like kind of went over their head and they were like, what are you talking about? Anyways, I'm not doing that today. Yeah, I'm not doing that today. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of context here about the layers of context. So real quick, the first two layers here, the training data and the system prompt, those are the things that are just baked into the large language model, ChatGPT, Claude, et cetera. That's kind of like It's essentially their hard drive and their operating system, if you will, right? And if we get into this, and if you have questions, I can tell you how to kind of like access the system prompt and use that for your benefit to some degree. But layers 3, 4, and 5 are all things that we can control and things that we can put into our AI tools to essentially get better output. And that's user preferences. We'll get into that, and then project knowledge, and then your actual requests. Okay. I feel like I'm talking way too fast. All right. I can't see all your faces.
No, you're good. You're good. Keep going. You're good.
Awesome. Okay. So let's get into it. This idea of the master prompt. This is honestly one of the things that really unlocked the power of AI for me when I first learned this and I applied it. Because prior to this, like I said before, I was just using it kind of to help me write. I was using it to answer all kinds of random questions, like a glorified Google search, right? And it was helpful, but it wasn't that helpful. And I would honestly say I wasn't using it every day, and I didn't understand or see the application to using it every single day. And I didn't really know how to use it. And that's kind of how it works with a lot of tools, right? Like unless you know what the hammer drill does, you're probably not going to know when to use it. I don't know. That's a tool analogy. So the concept of the master prompt is essentially, like I was saying before, this is a way to give your AI tool a ton of context about you and about your practice. Like we're kind of going deep on this one. And essentially we're going to fill out this document. We're not going to do it together, but you can fill out this document, answer all these questions, and then we take that and put it inside of your AI tool so that every time you ask a question, like that therapist you've seen for a year, it doesn't need to ask you for clarification, doesn't need to ask you who you are or what you're trying to accomplish or any of those things because it automatically pulls from that data. And I'll give you some really practical examples of how this is powerful. I see chats coming in, but I don't know if they're questions. Let me know if they are. Okay.
Nope, you're good. You're good for now.
Awesome. All right, so this master prompt is what you're going to do here. And like I said, in the chat is the link to this document. So you can come in here, and if you click that link, it'll actually prompt you to make a copy of the document so you can fill this out inside of your Google Docs.
I just shared it again in the chat.
Ah, fantastic. Thank you. So all you have to do here is come through here and answer all these questions, maybe 1, 2, 3 sentences per question, and then I'll show you what to do with it. But this is going to cover all kinds of different areas. Personal, so this is all the context about you, what your strengths and weaknesses are, how you want to use AI, all the things you can see here. And then you're going to give some context about your practice. Could change this to practice, but same kind of idea. Specifically, like what markets do you serve? Who's your ideal clients? Who reports to you? How many employees do you have? Like really getting into the weeds of what your practice is about. Who are your competitors and what do they do? This is not as important for us, but it's not a bad idea to put that in there as well. Team and KPIs. This is especially important for group practices with multiple clinicians, whether you have 2, 10, or 45. I like to personally actually put every single employee in here, as well as their role and their compensation. It says salary is optional here, but I like to put that in there so that when I'm chatting with my Brenda from HR, no, it's Jason from HR, he knows exactly what everyone gets paid. And then their KPIs, their metrics and targets, those kind of things, if you have those for people.
You're right. Would you, sorry to interrupt, would you
Yeah.
recommend saying after each employee, this is how much they make? And then when you say KPIs, are you saying like how many clients per month, how many paid sessions per month or things like that to
Exactly. Right.
or they had to follow? Okay.
Yeah. I know not all of us probably have strict KPIs for our clinicians, but you might. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Exactly. I mean, honestly, for my, for productive therapists and my virtual assistants, they don't have specific KPIs, but it's like what they're responsible for is billable hours, right? So, but you can vamp on this too. You can add or subtract things from this master prompt. Okay, so products and services, for most of us, this is pretty straightforward, but if you do counseling as well as psych testing or ketamine-assisted therapy, like Michelle was talking about, get into the details about what products you offer, what services you offer. Most of us don't offer products. And what do they cost? What are the features and benefits of each one? And then how do you differentiate between them? So that's super important. And then the culture section, I think, is really valuable too, because, if you ask a general question of, in Chat GPT about what you should do with your business, it's going to give you a very smart, logical, comprehensive answer. But when it knows what you value and what's important to you and what your goals are, it's going to give you a lot better answers. And in fact, as we get into building the projects and building your AI advisory team, I'll show you a little bit more about this, but I've had on several occasions my AI advisory team members remind me of our annual goals, remind me of our quarterly goals, remind me of our values, which is really kind of nice, right?
Super. Can I also ask,
Yeah.
would you put your policy manual in here, your employee policy manual or anything like that?
No, but I'll show you where to put that. That's going to go in the
Oh,
project.
that's
That's going
right.
to go in the
Okay.
project. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so products and services, culture, and then I've got a couple other sort of things to give you, but this was a really helpful addition. Number 7, this uncertainty map. So whenever, I'm sure you've all noticed this when you use AI, whatever tool you're using, I think the word that they use to describe it is sycophantic. Is that right? It's like AI is a sycophant. Like it tells you what you want to hear. It's always like overly positive, maybe toxically positive. I don't know. But it'll be like, Nate, you're so brilliant. Everything you're doing at Navigator is genius,
It's true.
and
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And when you ask for that feedback, it'll be like your cheerleader, which is really interesting. It's valuable, and I was I was actually learning about a study recently that was comparing people's responses to, this is controversial, I know, but an AI therapist and a human therapist, and the fact that the AI therapist was so positive and had so much unconditional positive regard, the clients actually loved that and said that it was better than the human. Oh my goodness. Anyways, we
yeah,
won't go into that. Just that's not this presentation, but we don't always want that, right? So if you're using these tools as business tools and to help you grow your practice, I think hopefully all of us on this call would say we need and we want constructive criticism. We want the feedback that's like, yeah, I don't know about that. Because it's only your good friends that are in your mastermind group, or hopefully your business coach, that tell you, yeah, you're right, that's not a good idea, or we're going off course, or whatever that might be, right? So this uncertainty map says add a section at the end of your responses labeled uncertainty map where you describe what you're least confident about, what you may be oversimplifying, and what questions or follow-ups would change your opinion. And so every single time that I put in a request or a chat in Claude, it has a section at the bottom of its response that says exactly this. This is what I'm not sure about. And I personally really appreciate that, especially actually when I'm writing blog posts or newsletters or any kind of marketing content, because it, like, let's just say I'm trying to get a title for a blog post or something like that. My tool will give me the 5 best recommended blog post titles. And then it'll say, but I think actually number 1 is the best, right? And then it will say, but I'm not sure about this, this, and this. So it just helps me make a better decision as I'm interacting with my AI tool. Okay, so this is the master prompt. And once you fill this out, it's going to be a little bit of a lengthy document, but that's totally fine. Now I'm going to show you what to do with it. So this is where there's a significant difference between ChatGPT and Claude. And for the purposes of the master prompt, Claude actually works a whole lot better. I'll just show you real quick. So if you go into your ChatGPT account, you can click into the settings and it's got this option to customize ChatGPT. So you can put a name, tell it about what you do. There's a very tiny little box here. You can give it a personality, cynic, robot, listener, nerd. Actually, I'm going to change my nerd. There we go. That seems appropriate. And then you can give it some traits. It's got a little box here. And then you can tell it if you want it to be, chatty, witty, encouraging, etc. And then anything else ChatGPT should know about you. The unfortunate thing is that master prompt is so lengthy and it has so much information that ChatGPT won't take it. It won't go in here. So that's a little bit unfortunate. I'm going to save this. However, inside of Claude, if you go into the settings, there's this section for profile, and here is the context window for your personal preferences. And here's my master prompt, right? So it's really long, which is awesome. It's cool that I can put all this information in there. And it works really well. So like I was telling you before, this information is accessed every single time you put in a prompt into Claude. And I will say a little caveat, a little footnote here. Both ChatGPT and Claude have been making so many massive improvements specifically to the memory features of these tools, so they can access different chats, and their ability to have greater context and memory in terms of what you've said and the output that you've received is getting much, much better. So that's really, really good. Okay, so we don't need to look at this too much in depth, but here you can see that I've filled out the personal section, company, market, team and KPIs, all these specifics, products and services. With Productive Therapists, we have more products and services than my group practice has, so there's more information here. Pricing, features and benefits, culture, etc. You can also add this, and if we have time, we can chat about this, but I put in my writing style paragraph here, which is I've identified sort of this prompt that says, here's how to write like Uriah. And that's incredibly helpful whenever you're writing an email or anything that you need help with. And then I added in this AI hiring SOP, which you guys will love if we have time to show that. I also put another section down here for marketing efforts, just to kind of like put in that context about what are our active marketing efforts, so it knows when I'm chatting with Sam from marketing, it knows exactly what we are doing, what we're thinking about doing, etc. Okay, so that's where the master prompt goes.
Nice.
Tell me what questions y'all have now.
I like the writing. I'm updating mine right now, Uriah, with your really good, great
Nice.
recommendations. I will say I had, I like, for me, right, like Brent, I just said, I like to keep it short, empathetic, and clear. I like to show at least one emoji.
Yeah,
So
there you
there's
go.
that. But there's, yeah. So if you haven't done this yet, take the time to fill it out. It is pretty powerful because Uriah, I went into his little, what do you call it? Little mastermind group,
A little mastermind.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
call it a
a
little
tiny
mastermind.
one.
But I will share this. I will share this. I wrote to a friend, and it was kind of like it was kind of a personal message. And I 100% knew he used AI to write back to me because I knew it was not his voice at all.
Right.
And it was really fascinating. And I was sort of like, oh man, like, because he hit every single point on my email. Like, he responded to every little thing that I might have brought up. I'm like, there's no way that was him.
You know, it's
So
funny.
I love AI for that, but I was like, ooh, maybe that's like one little spot where you just have to be really careful. Like, I think AI is a great idea for responding to emails,
Yeah.
but if you can train it to make it sound more like you, then you'll have less of that feeling that other person might be feeling on the other side.
Definitely,
Like, oh,
definitely. And you can also tell your AI tool to not use certain giveaways like the M dash and those kinds of things.
oh,
You can
100%.
tell it
Yeah.
not to
Yes,
use those.
absolutely.
Now I actually like the M dash, but I don't use it because it's like, oh, okay, you didn't write this.
No, you're right. You've been trained by AI now.
I know, right? Yeah.
I think
And
we
just
had
on,
I was just saying, I think we had a question from Susan. She had her hand up.
yeah, great.
Oh, hi guys. No, I was just gonna I get it now, but I'm kind of new to all this, and so it looks like this is just front loading these products with all of this information about you so that you can everything you ask it does a better job and giving you the information.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. I would love to see a little bit more of how you identify the way you talk because that's
Oh yeah.
if you have but I know you have a lot to get through, so.
Yeah. So I'll just quickly say on that one, the best thing to do is to go and find some of your writing that you really like, that you feel like reflects your voice, your tone, kind of your style, and literally just dump that into a document or dump that into a chat and say, help me create a writing style paragraph from this content. The problem that some people are going to have is that they've been using AI to write their stuff for a while, and like none of it is truly theirs. Probably not a lot of us, but like I took, I wrote a book, and so I took the entire manuscript of the book. I took some email newsletters. I took some emails because I have a particular style. It tends to be really short and positive. I use exclamation points and emojis and things like that, and so that's how I like to write. So that's what you can do. It's actually quite quick and easy. Yeah, definitely. The other thing I wanted to say about this before we move on. So I'm assuming that everybody here most likely has a group practice with one or more clinicians, two or more probably. And you might have an admin team, you might have a leadership team, you might have a clinical supervisor, et cetera, et cetera. So whoever is helping you to run your practice, I would give them this tool. And here's the amazing sort of tip is to give this master prompt to them as well. And all they need to do is update this personal section. So put in their personal info here. So my integrator who helps me run Productive Therapist, she does so much for me. She has her own Claude account that I pay for, of course. And she has this exact master prompt in her account just with personal information from her, so that when we are both, chatting with Claude about productive therapist related things, we're going to get similar, it has similar context, it has the same context really, and we're going to get similar output. So that is a powerful level up. And I'll get into the ability to share chats, share projects, and collaborate with your team if folks want to hear about that, because that is very helpful and important. Okay, I just want to say, like, I'm not sponsored by Claude at all, and there's no affiliate link or anything like that. I just really like it, and one of the things I do like about it is that it has more of a privacy focus, and I know this matters even more to all of us. The folks who started Anthropic, which is the company that built Claude, they actually used to work at OpenAI, the company that built ChatGPT, and they said, hey, we don't feel good about OpenAI's lack of focus on privacy and security. We're going to go start our own tool. So they did. And in fact, there was no default setting in this tool for sharing your data and your chats to improve their models. Now there is. They give you the option to turn it on or off. And down here it says, help improve Claude. Allow the use of your chats and coding sessions to train and improve Anthropic models. Turned off, right? So there's more of a focus on security and privacy. Now, can you trust any of these AI companies? No, you can't. And we can chat about that if you want. But what we're doing in these cases with these sort of use cases that I'm talking to you about, none of it's clinical, none of it's PHI. So we're not going to put anything that's exposing our clients' information anywhere. So that's important. But if you have questions about security and privacy, definitely let me know. Okay, so that is the master prompt, and I'm going to show you the first time that this really blew my mind. Okay, so going into my chat history, and this was actually only 4 months ago, which is kind of amazing. But 4 months ago, one of my longtime employees, most valuable players, if you will, in my practice and in Productive Therapist, put in her notice. She said she's leaving in 3 weeks. And it was, fortunately, it was for good reasons. She had another opportunity and it was time for her to move on. So it was fine. But she literally did all my credentialing, all my insurance billing. She was my practice manager. She did she did all of our hiring for Productive Therapist. She did so much. I would just have nightmares about what if Jamie leaves? What in the world am I going to do? So it happened. She put in her notice. And long story short, I actually did come to Claude pretty quickly. And I said, Jamie just put in her resignation with 3 weeks until her final day. Can you help me create a transition plan to reassign all of her tasks and projects and roles? So, and then it said, I'm sorry to hear about Jamie's resignation, Uriah. Losing your director of HR and finance is significant, but with 3 weeks notice, we can create a solid transition plan. Let me help you organize this systematically. Okay. So in a matter of 1 to 2 minutes, it created this detailed 3-week transition plan with days 1 and 2, 3, 7, week 1, 2, 3. And I think this was the first time that I had the experience of an AI tool actually taking what I put into it and creating like a deliverable or whatever you want to call it, a document, like a resource. And so I was just kind of like, whoa. And if you've experienced this already, then you know, but like the first time you pop something in there and then it just starts writing for you, right? You're like, this is like magic. What's happening? So this transition plan ended up being like, I got it immediately and it's really quite solid. And in fact, if I'm being honest, Claude actually gives me too much. It's almost overwhelming at times, but it gives me all this data, next steps, it's all laid out, right? And I think somewhere in here, I don't know where it is exactly, but somewhere it said it knew who Jamie is, what her role is, what her pay is, and what her responsibilities and KPIs are. So it didn't have to ask me questions. I didn't have to go type it in and tell it all this information. And it recommended other team members that could take over her positions. So that was kind of mind blown. And I continued to have a chat and like give more information, give some more details. And as I gave more and more details, it basically just updated this this timeline. So that was kind of amazing, right? As far as like a business strategy helper, you know,
What
an
did you, can I ask, what was the most
yeah,
helpful part for you on this? Because I know others might be thinking the same thing. Like it
yeah.
just gave you a bunch. Like, what did you feel like you used the most out of some of this feedback it was providing?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think number one, it was just feeling like I immediately had a plan, and so I didn't spend the next 3 hours thinking
Yeah.
about what am I going to do. You know, I've been doing this a long time. I've had a business for 15 years, and so I'm pretty good at like pretty resilient. Things happen, you problem solve. So it was just much quicker. I felt like I had a plan, right? So that was comforting, I guess. And then oftentimes when I ask questions of my AI tools that know me fairly well, like they just come up with things that I didn't think about. Come up with there's parts of this transition plan that I guarantee you I would not have thought to put in there, right? Oh yeah, here it is. Internal reassignment strategy.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Immediate owner responsibilities. And it's like, here's your director of business development. Let's expand her role. Let's give Jessica, your lead VA, additional responsibilities. So that I was like, oh my gosh, it's already there, right? So I think those two things really, yeah. Because
I
if you
love
think
that.
about it, for me to go and just by myself type out, okay, well, what happens needs to happen day one, day two, day three, week 1, 2, 3, I would be typing for like 45 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
So speed.
I
Yeah.
see that exit interview, right? I bet you
Yeah.
could select that and be like, what are some questions I need to be asking in this exit interview, right? And
Right.
it's you're just iterating, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom on it. That's awesome.
And just a couple quick notes if you haven't used this particular tool. So up in the right-hand corner, you can click on this button and it changes depending on what this what is in this section, but you can download this as a PDF. And then you can also, what I ended up doing with this honestly is I actually copy and pasted it into Google Docs and shared that with my director of business development so we could work on the plan together, and actually ended up sharing it with Jamie as well. So that was good. And then you can also, if you don't know, you can also publish any chat inside of Claude, or publish this artifact rather. So when Claude creates a document or a visual or something like that, they call it artifact. So you can publish and copy the link. So you can send that link to anybody on the team or anybody that you want to, so they can just, they can't interact with it, but they can see the chat. And that's very helpful. So that was like one of the first moments where I was like, okay, this is more than just a replacement for Google, right? That was awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was just a chat. That wasn't even an interaction with one of my AI advisory team members, because I figured that out later. Okay, so that's the master prompt. How are we doing? We're doing good. Okay, let's get into building some of these AI advisory team members. So I don't know. Some large group practices have really extensive teams where they have maybe like a CFO or like a fractional CFO. Maybe they have, like I said before, a clinical supervisor, clinical director, practice manager. But and I would love for people to pop in the chat and say, you know, what kind of help you need that you don't have. But a lot of us don't quite have the scale yet to hire a CFO. I certainly don't, and didn't before this. And so it's incredibly helpful to create a project that can act as your assistant for these various different roles. Funny enough, this is kind of just to tie into the story with Jamie, is that I was actually in the process of her and I were working together for her to get more training to actually become our CFO, because she's really excellent with spreadsheets and numbers, and she's very analytical mind. So we even signed her up for like local junior college course, and she was going to take some online courses and these kinds of things. So when she left, I was like, well, I guess Claude is my CFO.
Yeah.
And honestly, the stuff I'm going to show you today, hopefully you're going to be like, that's amazing. You just changed my life. Okay. So what I have here, what I've shared with you here is basically the instructions to create these 4 projects, i.e. AI advisory team members. So finance assistant, CFO if you want, HR assistant, business coach, and marketing assistant. The reality is that you can create whatever you need. You can create a project and a role for whatever you need it to be. These are just 4 that I think we could all use on a regular basis. I have a human business coach and I have an AI business coach, and they're actually both really, really helpful. And funny enough, I take the transcripts from my meeting with my human business coach and I feed them into my AI business coach, and then we chat about what we chatted about in my calls. Okay, that's a little meta, isn't it? I know. Okay. So these are the project instructions. We're gonna actually build this finance assistant together here. And so this is just detailed instructions, giving this project a role, giving it a name, a role, a voice, tone, style guidelines, telling it what it can provide for me. And this is going to be, I already have this built. I'll show you in a second, but we're going to build this. I'm going to show you exactly how to build it right now. And then I'll show you what it can do. So this one's pretty cool. This might be my favorite one, to be honest. Okay, so if you're inside of Claude, you can go over to projects, and this is where you'll see your projects. And just for context too, like if you love ChatGPT and you're like, I don't like Claude because I don't like beige. That's what I felt for a long time. I was like, ChatGPT is white and Claude is beige, and I don't like brown. Anyways, if you go into the settings over here, no, I'm sorry, what am I talking about? Go into the menu over here on the left. You can click on, let me expand this, projects right here. So you can create projects in ChatGPT exactly how I'm showing you in Claude, and this is how you would do it. It's very, very similar. So if you love ChatGPT, stay with it. It's fine. Okay, so I'll show you my project and then we'll create a new one. So down here, I've got Brenda from finance. I've got Sam from marketing, Jason from HR, Gina, my executive assistant, and Steve, my business coach. And this is purely just for fun. I just gave them names because I thought it was funny. And then my kids would be like, hear me in my office and like, who are you talking to? Are you talking to your AI team again? Yep, I am. Okay, so this is my finance project, my CFO, if you will. And inside of this project, it's basically just like a dedicated space with sort of like these nice walls where you can get specific work done on a specific thing. So in this case, I have, if you click on this, you can actually edit this. So it's got a little description about what this project is. This project supports the finance function of Productive Therapist. So that's in there, a little bit of details. And then over here on the right, if you click this button, you can edit the instructions. And this is where we're going to put the slightly longer instructions to give the project relevant information for the chats that take place inside of this project. And it does say, this is kind of important. It does say that this will work alongside user preferences as the selected style in a chat. So the master prompt that we just talked about works together with this project and everything inside of here to do some amazing things. And then over here on the right, you've got a files section. And what you're seeing here is just basically a bunch of profit and loss statements. I've uploaded some goal metrics, some payroll data, some invoicing data. Basically just, you can put a ton of documents in here. You can, like if this was your marketing project, you could put, everything you've ever put out there for marketing, for example. And I've only used 1% of the project capacity, so it will take a lot. Has a big, they call it a context window. So inside of this project, this is where I go to chat about the finances of Productive Therapist. And in fact, I need to have a meeting with Brenda soon, because every month when I get my profit and loss statement from my bookkeeper, I go and I just pop in here and I say, how did we do last month? And then Brenda gives me a whole rundown of the previous month based on the profit and loss data. I'll show you how that works. So this is what a project looks like, right? Feel free to pop in with any questions if you have as I go along. The ones that I tend to use the most are Brenda from finance, Sam from marketing, and HR occasionally. I actually pay for the HR pros through Gusto. So if we have something we need to talk to them about, we call them. But I have used this HR project quite a bit because we employ people in multiple different, like 10 different states. So I have questions about employment law in Minnesota and that kind of thing. So that is actually very helpful. And then I've used Steve, the coach, quite a lot. And I even gave it instructions on I even put in there what my favorite business books are, my favorite business leaders. So it will tell me hey, this is what Mike Michalowicz would do if he was talking to you. So I think that's pretty cool.
Hey,
All right.
Raya.
Yes, sir.
Susan asked if you were concerned about sharing your financials with Claude.
I'm not. No.
I would imagine you're not uploading social security numbers and pay stubs. It's probably just general financial data, right? Which is not can be used for much. Yeah.
If Claude wanted to steal my info, they really couldn't hurt me, And if somebody hacked into this, because nothing's secure on the internet, right? So obviously don't put anything on the internet or in an AI tool that you don't feel somewhat comfortable with. I'm not putting social.
Neither is Experian or TransUnion or
right. Yeah, that's
well,
true.
I guess I'm just wondering, it's also accessible, and then all of a sudden you're getting all kinds of marketing and based on information you've shared, but maybe that's already happening.
That shouldn't be happening according to the system prompt of these tools. But there's a lot of things we can say in this time that shouldn't be happening. But I'm not too concerned about that. I'm more concerned about Meta and Facebook. I'm definitely not buying the Meta Ray-Ban glasses and letting Facebook see everything that I look at. No, thank you. So yeah,
100%.
Totally. So, and that's one of the reasons, Susan, why I'm not using this for clinical purposes, because it's not a HIPAA compliant tool, right? So that's the data that I really want to protect is clients, client data, client social security numbers, client credit card numbers, et cetera, like that. But the reality is that we put all that information into Simple Practice or, whatever, therapy notes or whatever. So is it more secure there? No. Yeah. So that's a very good question. My answer to that one is no. But I think I'm kind of on that cusp. I'm technically a Gen X person, but I tend to share my data pretty freely, just not with humans. Okay, moving on. That was kind of true, but kind of a joke. Okay, so what we're going to do is create a new project here. And we're going to call this, somebody chime in and give me a name for our new CFO. What do you want to call this? Anybody? Not Karen.
CFO Joe. Oh, Kelly. Okay, sorry.
No, I like Joe. Joe the CFO. Let's do that. Okay.
sorry, Michelle.
Is there a Joe on the call?
Michelle, no. I was just Michelle. You could call it whatever your CFO, whatever you want, whatever.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so I'm just going to paste in some description here, and this part is actually less important, but it just says you're here to help the practice owner. We'll just say Uriah makes smart financial decisions with less stress and more clarity. All right, create project. Excellent. So now we're going to click on the instructions, and I'm literally just going to copy and paste this right here, all of this. And this is fairly standard. You can customize this as much as you want, but basically I'm just going to put the name that I've given it. You are Joe from finance, and you are supporting the financial side of Intune Family Counseling, a service-based counseling business serving clients in the Sonoma County area. Okay. Pretty straightforward, right? Put my name in here. So, okay. Save the instructions. That's great. And then now I'm going to give this project more context. So earlier I said that the secret sauce for getting better output from your AI tools is mostly about context. So here we've given it a description, we've given it instructions, and I'm about to add some files. And I'm going to upload from my device. I actually pulled some old profit and loss statements from my counseling practice from back in 2021 and 2022. So I'm just going to pop those in there. And then now this project has all the information from the master prompt. It has its specific instructions inside of this project. And then now it has 4 profit and loss statements. 2 of them are actually annual for the entire year. And then 2 of them are from the month of May in those respective years. Okay, feel free to stop me if you've got any questions, but moving on. So I've got 4 sort of possible prompts here, and you can ask whatever you want. The reason why I give these projects like a name to personify them is, well, two reasons really. One, because it's kind of fun and funny. And then the other one is because it's actually helpful to think of these projects as members of your team. So if you think of ChatGPT or Claude or these specific projects as if they were someone on your team, when you have a financial problem, yeah, you're going to go talk to your bookkeeper. You're going to talk to Nate's team, of course. But you could also start here and come and talk to Joe. Okay, so the first question here, the first prompt is, and this is the beautiful thing about this, because it has so much context, we don't have to like say a bunch, right? How did we do financially last month? Go. Oh, you know what? Actually, that's not going to work because it doesn't have last month, does it? I'm going to do that again. What was this date on this? Let me check. I think it was May. I'm going to go, how did we do financially in May 2021? Okay, there we go. And it's going to give me a breakdown, right? Net income, key performance highlights, revenue, major expense categories, notable observations, context worth noting. And then you'll see at the bottom, it's got the uncertainty map. It says, I'm confident about the numbers since they're straight from your P&L, but I'm making assumptions about what constitutes good performance without knowing your specific targets for that period or comparing to other months in 2021. The missing piece there in this context is that my master prompt doesn't actually have any information about Intune Family Counseling. It's all Productive Therapist. And that's why that says that there. And if anybody has the question of like, can I use this if I have multiple businesses? Like Michelle has 2 sister practices. So the answer to that really is to put information about both of those practices in the master prompt so that it can assist you with both. So that's helpful. So
Hey,
this is like a
Ryan,
pretty, yes.
just time-wise, we're pretty close to time. So
Awesome.
you want to just maybe grab some questions or wrap it up and then do a couple questions, that'd be great.
Yep. Thank you.
I would also
Okay.
say, could I say, I wonder if you put in the master prompter in the project, because I know Nate being my bookkeeper, he's like, you kind of want to keep your percentages, like your payroll and things like that around a certain percentage, and like putting that
Yep.
in the payroll and say, hey, can you compare it against these benchmarks I'm trying to get to? And it can provide feedback there.
Absolutely. I'm just going to show you one other thing here, 1 or 2. Give me a visual representation comparing May 21 to May 22. This is one thing I think Claude does exceptionally well is create visualizations of data or other things as well. And it's quite good at coding. Lots and lots of people use Claude for coding.
Apparently.
So now, yeah, right. So now it's actually live coding a visual representation. I've used it to create job flyers. I've used it to create checklists for various different things that are clickable. I've used it to actually create standalone web apps. So it can do a lot of stuff. The things I'm showing you here are kind of like just the tip of the iceberg. So this is going to give us a visual comparison of those 2 months. I'm a visual person. Like I don't like to look at spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff. So we'll come back to that and I'll show you in a second. So you can go do this today if you want. You can create an HR assistant, quite helpful. Business coach, quite helpful. Marketing assistant, very helpful. So highly recommend the master prompt as well as creating some AI advisory team members. And then let's go back here and see. Oh, beautiful. So here's my financial performance comparison. It looks pretty nice. And then it's got some graphs and some data and some key financial insights from down here at the bottom. I like that. One of the things, this might be interesting to you, Nate, is that after doing this for several months, it starts to give me like, show me patterns. It's like, you're spending too much on payroll and not enough on marketing. You probably need to shift that. So, like, okay. Yeah. And I will say also
Joe, the
that
CFO's throwing
I
some
know.
shade at you.
I
Man.
know. None of these will replace, obviously, a lawyer, a therapist, a bookkeeping company, a business coach, those kinds of things. But it will assist you incredibly in your work. Okay, so wrapping things up, you get the idea. If you personalize your AI, you're going to get better results, make better decisions, save loads of time, and hopefully have more fun with your work. And if you want more support, I do one-on-one consulting, so I can help you set up any of these things and help you configure and figure out how to use AI for you and for your practice. I've also got a fantastic AI mastermind that's currently running, and the next cohort starts in January. It's only for group practice owners, and we get together and talk about these things and implement these things over a period of 3 months. It's a whole lot of fun. There you go.